Yo, what's happening guys, King GBL here, and welcome back to another Great League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing another fun team in the Great League, featuring Mantine, Diggersby and Registeel. The Mantine and Diggersby core is a core I've wanted to try out for quite some time. After playing this team for around 3 sets, I can confirm this team is very strong. It works actually quite decently into the meta. Mantine does very well into the entire meta, with the exception of course of Charge-a-Bug and Lantern, and of course steel types can be a little bit tricky for it. I do find that steel types are less common, mostly Bastiodon if anything. And if you can avoid those Pokemon and give Mantine at the very worst a neutral matchup, it does very well. On Diggersby we're running Quick Attack and Fire Punch. I really like this moveset. Against flying type Pokemon like Gligar, even Skarmory, Quick Attack Fire Punch works decently well, and allows Diggersby to output a lot more damage with fast move pressure, which I do quite like. And finally of course on the team, it's probably one of my favourite Pokemon as well, Registeel. I think this Pokemon is very slept on, completely obliterates Skarmory, and what I do like is it does very well into that toxic team of Wigglytuff, Skarmory and Victreebel. Registeel basically can beat the entire team. So overall I went very decently positive with this team. I think I was losing a lot of leads and having a lot of pretty awkward matchups, but the team stood strong and it did very well, and we're going to have a look at some of the battles today. Before we do hop into it, today's question of the day is, what do you think is a very underrated core of 2 Pokemon in the Great League that you don't see too often, but you think is very strong? And of course if you guys do enjoy today's video, drop a like on the video and subscribe. I actually want you to check quickly if you are subscribed or not, because around 60% of you who watch these videos all the time aren't actually subscribed to the channel yet, so do that for me very quickly. We're getting very close to 4k. Thank you very much appreciated, and let's hop into the battles. So we're firing off the Aurelius, last second Aurelius on the Dragonair. Opponent comes back into Lantern, and we're basically chilling at this point. We have the move banked on the Registeel. To be fair, this match was over a long time ago. I am messing about. Of course, it's the end of the season, we're messing about. I'm shielding the Reggie, we're going to go for the lock-on down. The opponent goes for double surf here. The opponent successfully baited. As I mentioned yesterday, you know, whenever I am just messing around in Discord, I do like to go for stupid catches. I like to go for undercharges and try to go for the perfect undercharge and mess around. So yeah, just having a little bit of fun there. In comes Mantine versus Jellicent. This is quite a decent matchup actually. If you can just shield a Shadow Ball, which you almost always will, this is a fairly close matchup. I think it might be slightly positive for Jelly, because as you can see that does about half. So I think you can make an argument that you should shield up the first move. It's almost always going to be a Shadow Ball, unless it's like the final 2 Pokemon remaining or something. And we go for a very nice catch here on what is definitely going to be a Shadow Ball. Into the Diggersby. Once again, love going for those catches. The opponent comes into a Registeel. Trainer! That is not an answer to Diggersby. That is not an answer to Diggersby. What are you doing? I no shield, instant no shield. What is this? A zap trainer? What are you doing? Our friend here is just in an absolute shambles. We're gonna go for the next Scorching Sands. The opponent shields it up. And I wasn't going to shield Diggersby, of course, as you've seen, because we would have lived the Focus Blast. But, you know, I might as well shield at this point. They're clearly weak to this Pokemon in the back. I'm going to go for a nice overfarm. I think it on 7 there, if I'm counting correctly here. That's just about doesn't KO, and we go for another catch. We catch a Focus Blast on the Mantine. Trainer! Okay, back in comes Jelly. We go for the Aurelius, and we'll see what the opponent comes into. Like I said, just having a little bit of fun here, and in comes Trevenant. So this is a good thing about Fire Punch. We can just do about like 40% damage with these each and every time. So yeah, the opponent pretty much has to shield up the second one. I don't know if this is true or not, but I would say like Quick Attack, even though double resisted, probably does about the same as a single resisted Mud Shot. You guys can let me know if you know that in the comments, but it seems like it's doing a decent enough amount of damage, and we're gonna look to potentially go for a catch. Yo, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, this is just rude. This is just rude. Look at this. Look at this. Do we go for Focus Blast? What next? What next? The opponent will go for Shadow Ball here, of course. This will not KO the Registeel, no matter what your IVs are. The opponent goes for a catch as well. I overfarm knowing that the opponent's going to go for a catch. Once again, I was streaming these in Discord and people were having a pretty fun time watching that one. Mantine versus Lantern. We're not going to have a fun time this time by the looks of things. We go into Registeel and they come into Poliwrath. Okay, so what we're going to do is go straight for the Zapparoo here. No messing around. We'll get the shield advantage, farm it down with Mantine, but the opponent lets it go. The opponent lets it go. In comes Lantern, and like Reggie has a decent matchup into Lantern as well. It's a fairly neutral one. I think you win the ones. They go for Thunderbolt for the most raw damage. I'm going to go for a Zap here, of course try to do like 50% of their health, get a debuff if possible. We do get the debuff, which is quite nice, and we're basically getting this lined up onto the Diggersby. Now I think in this match I make a big mistake here somewhere. Let's see, Surf coming in, that does absolutely nothing, and in comes Gligar. I shouldn't have thrown this move right here. This was a mistake because I've got a Mantine in the back, and I think what I end up deciding to do is go straight Aurelius here. I think I should have been at the very least building up to the, I should have at least built up to the Ice Beam to threaten the move, threaten the one-shot. The opponent can just easily let that go. To be honest with you, I sort of thought I could just earliest my way through this Pokemon, but as you can see, their earliest are doing a little bit more. I can go earliest now this time. The opponent probably would have shielded that move, and yeah, they're just letting these moves go now. We've misaligned the timers, and they get the farm down with Lantern, so we still have 2 shields. This is probably going to hurt a little bit more than a dig, so I decide, okay, we'll just shield up the Surf here. I'm going to look to go for, I believe, double Fire Punch here. The Lantern is getting quite low, and yeah, we just basically need to get up to back-to-back moves. I maybe even could try to commit to a farm down, maybe that's like the best play here. They shielded up the first move, I'm going to go for the next one straight away. Maybe I should just be committing to the farm down and fire these moves off on the Gligar. But the opponent here, of course, gets off the last second Surf, and the Gligar did bank energy, so pretty unfortunate there. Had he went for it, or had he built up to the moves, the opponent would have shielded up potentially, and that would have put me in a much better position where, yeah, I think I just misplayed that completely. I was trying to be a little bit too smart going straight Aurelius. You know, I thought to myself, like, okay, I want the opponent to let this go, because I'll just go straight Aurelius. I know it's not an Ice Beam, so they'll let it go. But it completely backfired on me, and I threw the move with Diggersby before I left. Whenever you've got a Pokemon that can potentially one-shot whatever comes in, you don't really want to do that. You might as well just save the energy and go into your counter. So yeah, good game as we learn, and let's hop into this one. So do I learn from my mistakes here? Okay, so I'm building up to the Ice Beam this time. Like, I know that this is the way you're supposed to play these matches, but I thought I was being smart by not doing that. You know, sometimes you can overthink it. This time, we're actually going straight for the Ice Beam, and the opponent lets it through 2 shields. They come back into the Lantern, and this is still looking a little bit tricky. We need Diggersby to be very good against something in the back here. I'm going to overfarm. The opponent is, I think they're actually switch locked here, because I let that move go. But that's why we aggro swap there, and we don't unfortunately get the debuff. I am expecting the opponent to go for a catch here quite soon, so we will most likely shield up the Surf, look to go for a bit of an overfarm. I do decide to go for the Fire Punch bait here, because I think the opponent's switch clock is up, and they could be swapping out here. And I'm thinking, okay, this might be something we can beat. Now the opponent comes into a Skarmory, and again, this is one of the reasons why Fire Punch is quite decent. We get a little chip through, come into the Mantine, look to go for an Ice Beam, and we'll see if we can look to take care of the Skarmory. I think the opponent still has to Brave Bird to KO me here, although we are getting quite low. I do have quite decent IVs on my Mantine, I believe it's 5, 15, 15. Scat Attack coming in, that doesn't quite KO. We get off the earliest last second, which is pretty huge here. This might put them into Quick Attack downrange. Can we Quick Attack it? No. Unfortunately, the opponent does get off the move. I decide to shield it up. They go for the Brave Bird. Back in comes Lantern. They get off a Surf. Now, can we live this Surf from here? We can just about, and we do get to the Fire Punch. Is the Fire Punch going to be enough? We're on 1 HP here, basically. It is enough, and we don't even get the Simul KO. Super unfortunate game, but in the next game, we've just got a very, very hard RPS. What I should have done in this matchup is stayed in with Mantine for a while, and basically farmed up a bunch of energy. As you can see, the opponent's going straight for player off, so I was at no threat of getting Hydro Pumped or anything. So if you ever get a situation like this, where, you know, the opponent's fast moves are not doing anything to your lead Pokemon, I would recommend farming up a little bit before leaving. But as you can see here, the switch timers are coming back up. Now, whenever you land a Zap Cannon on a Azumarill, you go for a great Focus Blast, and that'll allow you to lock on the whole way down. We get a perfect lock on down, and in comes the Chestnut. I'm not going to mess about here, I'm going to go straight for Focus Blast. The opponent lets that through, and I was pretty tempted to like shield this up once, bank the move and come into like Mantine or Diggersby, but I decided to let this through. It is Frenzy Plant. In comes Mantine. I go for this move before they get off the next Frenzy, because Frenzy does about half to the Mantine. They let it through, and in comes Skarmory. So at this point here, we've got Mantine and Diggersby versus Skarmory. I think we should be in a perfectly fine position here. Ice Beam coming in, that would do a decent amount of damage, maybe 30%. The opponent decides to respect it, and we're going to let this go. If they go for Brave Bird, they're basically screwed. Now, the opponent, I believe, does not know what we have in the back, so them shielding these Ice Beams is a little bit, I don't know, not the best play by the opponent. We're going to come in here with Diggersby. We're going to once again let this move go. There's absolutely no way they can Brave Bird here, and I do live a Brave Bird. The opponent realizes, yeah, I'm not shielding anything, and that's their win con. And in the first set, we go 3-2. I definitely could have won 4-1 in that set, and one of the matches was pretty bad, pretty like RPS or whatever, so definitely the team is working quite well. Now in this next match we get a Bastiodon lead, not ideal, not ideal. The opponent lets me get some lock-ons for him, which is an absolutely huge mistake. The matchup between Registeel and Trevenant is already quite a close matchup. We get the attack drop as well, and that puts us in a position to actually take switch advantage here. If we can get our Diggersby on the Basti, we have a much better chance of winning this game. I go straight for another Zap Cannon. This of course will either take them out, or apply the debuff for the shield here. Yeah, we actually get a second debuff, that's absolutely massive. And I think what I'm going to do is shield up twice. I believe that I can get to 2 more Zap Cannons. I know that I can definitely tank a Shadow Ball very comfortably at this point, and we're basically in a very good position to take switch. Because the opponent gave me so many lock-ons, that was a huge mistake by them, and we'll see what the opponent wants to do. They come back into Bastiodon. Now at this point, this had me thinking, Should I be swapping out here? Why would they possibly come in to do this? They come in and drop the flamethrower. We die with the focus blast, unfortunately, but we do come into Diggersby right here. Now, the one worst thing about quick attack is that it makes the Bastiodon matchup a little bit worse. The opponent decides to eat the move, and they actually swap into a Cresselia. This is not that easy still. Cresselia is not exactly what I was expecting with this team, so at least I have to give the opponent credit. It's more of an interesting team. Now, the opponent can go for 2 future sights, which will KO the Mantine. They go for Grass Knot, which I'm not too sure why they're going for that. It might be the case that they're not even on Moonblast, so we're going to see how this plays out. I go for Ice Beam, the opponent shields it up. I'm probably expecting that to be the hardest hitting move left in the game. I'm not too sure, but I would say, yeah, probably an Ice Beam does a little bit more. The opponent then goes for Moonblast. I think because the opponent went for Grass Knot first time, they should have went for 2 more Grass Knots, or they should have went for double Moonblast. We get a very nice CMP here, and the opponent will go for a further Grass Knot. Now, I think I'm going to look to get rid of this Pokemon as soon as possible, and the opponent realizes that I want to get rid of it, so they come into their Bastiodon here. The opponent overfarmed a little bit, but this is basically curtains for them at this stage. Diggersby is such a hard wall to this thing, even with quick attack. All I'm going to do here is build up to 2 moves, and that's going to be GG's. I think I built up to like above 100 energy here, just to absolutely make sure that I'm at 2 moves. I don't want to leave it to a chance or anything like that. Yeah, we're over farming. I can see that the line's completely capped out, and that's going to be good games. Scorching Sands number 1, Scorching Sands number 2. The game's coming pretty close to the timer, and yeah, we're going to look to take this out. So that was a very negative lead, but it just goes to show you, like, sometimes the opponents completely misplay. They should have just came into their answer a lot quicker there. They took so long to come into Trevenant that they could basically not take switchback. In this next match, we have a Stinky McBinky Flinky Stinky. Someone was asking me a couple of days ago, like, how did you come up with the name Stinky Binky? Pretty much whenever this Pokemon first dropped, it was a pay-to-win Pokemon. You had to buy a research ticket. So the Pokemon at the time was very, very strong into the meta. It was beating Metachams, it was just beating everything. Everybody was super scared of Carbink. It's not really that much of a threat these days as compared to what it was before. I decided to shield my Reggie. I'm just predicting that this is like the triple toxic team, so I'm trying to get shield slime with Reggie here. But pretty much the name Stinky Binky came from, like, my son and I. We just kind of mess around and say, like, you've got toes in your nose, you're a farty barty, all this random stuff, right? You know, just when we're out walking, you've got bees in your knees, all this kind of random stuff. And one of the things was, you're a Stinky Binky. And it's just so funny, like, whenever Carbink came out, I just automatically was like, yeah, this Pokemon, it sucks. This is Stinky Binky. And yeah, that's basically how it stuck. The opponent goes for an aggro swap here, which I thought was quite interesting. The 2 shield for swap and then aggro swap out. We come back into Diggersby here. I do overfarm quite a lot because I cannot quite take them out with 1 move here. Moonblast coming in, that will do a lot of damage. Now the problem here, guys, is the Victreebel actually banked a move. So this is kind of annoying. We're going to go for a huge overfarm here, and basically look to fire for Scorching Sands. Now the problem here is, guys, the Victreebel is going to come back in, and I make a bit of a mistake here. I go for the overfarm. I try to farm it the whole way down, but the opponent ends up getting off the Leaf Blade. That takes out the Diggersby, and the opponent's got a Bastiodon on the back. Just immediate top left. I just have to say that team is absolutely awful. Like, that is an awful team. If you get a Skarmory lead, you lose. You just lose. Like, if you get a Skarmory lead, you just lose, right? If you get a Whiscash lead, guess what? You lose. Like, it's a horrible team. But the opponent does get the win there, and in the next match here, we have Registeel and Lickitung. As you can see there, we did a little chip with the Mantine first. Those wing attacks will basically put it into, as you can see here, lock on down range with the Focus Blast. So if no need to go for the Zap Cannon. Oftentimes with Pokemon like Lickitung and Umbreon, you need to go for 2 moves anyway. The opponent goes for an aggro swap. Now, I was going to lock on them the whole way down, and I was already on 100 energy. So this aggro swap is completely pointless. They're not gaining anything by aggro swapping here, and I even get off 2 earliest before they get off their first move. So the opponent's just in a really tough position here. They end up double shielding the Annihilate, and they just top left, yeah. So, not the play there. But in any case, guys, we go 4-1, and we're going to hop into the next set here. Talonflame lead. Now, this is a very awkward one, because this basically beats my entire team except for Mantine, and Mantine doesn't have, like, the most amazing matchup into it. I played Talonflame, I think, 2 or 3 times, and that was actually the only time I think they let the move go. Most oftentimes, the opponent just shields up the first move. They go for Fly. I was kind of afraid they would go for the bait. I decided since the opponent let the move go, they probably will just go for Fly or Brave Bird if they have it. At this point, I know it's not a Brave Bird, so I can happily let it go. Now, this team is ABB, so you can make the argument that I should probably swap out at this point. I'll look to try and go for like a quick attack down or something. I think that would have been the play, because we'll have a look and see what's in the back. They do come into Whiscash, so it definitely would have been quite nice to keep some health on that and look to basically draw this out. Now, I know they can't much shut me down, but I'm just in a bad position here. They go for a Scald. People are obsessed with this debuff. I can't wait for them to officially announce that this move is nerfed, so people can stop playing like absolute idiots. Like, to be honest with you guys, the amount of Scald usage where it's completely unnecessary is just ridiculous. But this is looking pretty much, I wouldn't say impossible to win, but it's not looking very likely that I'll win. I need to get a shield off the opponent here. That's like my only hope. Get this into the Reggie's zeros. We do get a debuff, which I think kind of does help. We can potentially get the shield off the opponent here. And that's basically our win con. The opponent goes for Scald, once again fishing for the heavy damage and going for the debuff. They actually no shield, and that's just so bad for me. I try to farm it the whole way down. I actually lock on, the opponent gets a new mechanic. So, as you're about to see, this lock on here takes them out, so they icy win me. I can live 2 Scalds from the R2 Mud Bombs, from the Whiscash, but unfortunately we just can't get to enough moves. The opponent's already ahead in energy, and yeah, that's basically good games. So more recently in the videos, I've been trying to show some more of these matchups where like it's just completely unwinnable. No matter what team you use, you're going to have some very like hard RPS losses for the most part. Ice Beam coming in, let's see what the opponent wants to do. They do decide to shield it, so again, this is a little bit worse for me. I decide to shield up their first move, but I'm kind of afraid once again that they go for the boost. I go for the extra here. I could have went for to and fro. We're going to build up to the Ice Beam and look to throw it off once again. I've double shielded at this point, so I've kind of shown my hand that I'm weak to this Pokemon in the back. Go for Ice Beam, the opponent shields it up of course, and I go for Catching Diggersby here, thinking that with Quick Attack we can just farm this the whole way down pretty much. The opponent comes into an Alolan Sand Slash. I'm not too sure about this play, and we're going to go for Fire Punch. This doesn't one-shot them, but it's going to of course do serious damage. The opponent's on Powder Snow, which is definitely worse for me, but they are non-Shadow, and to be honest with you guys, non-Shadow Sand Slash is just not that scary. If you're going to use Sand Slash, use the Shadow. The non-Shadow is just, I don't think it's that good at all. I think the one benefit with non-Shadow is that you live another Incinerate. Now the opponent comes into this again, which is sort of showing their hand as being weak to this. The opponent will go for a Fly. We can definitely live it from this range. They go for a Flame Charge, looking to basically boost themselves. I just go for this move immediately. I could have done an extra wing attack. And in comes Lantern, in comes Reggie. And I believe in the zeros, we basically win this. I'm going to go straight for Focus Blast. The opponent goes for Surf, of course, anticipating the debuff. I'm not going to be a degenerate debuffer. Focus Blast is cheaper, I just want to get these both off. Reggie wins the zeros, but it is a fairly close one. The opponent, of course, going for Surf, which has got the same DP pretty much as Thunderbolt. Those two moves are more or less the exact same damage for energy, but we do have pace to the move. That's going to be good games. I think I would have lived a Surf from there, but not a Thunderbolt, so yeah, good games to the opponent. Registeel with shields down as always, just puts on a clinic, and hopping into the next one, we've got FP Stickers. I don't think that's actually FP Sticks, but it's kind of funny that we've got this name here. I decide here to build up to the Ice Beam. What I have been doing in this match is just bringing the Aurelius immediately, which does get them quite low. Mantine's quite bulky, so the moves aren't threatening shields necessarily. I do build up to the move so that we can look to threaten the shield, and I'm going to go for the second move immediately here. I think what I may like to do here is go for a swap into Diggersby potentially. I go for a swap into Reggie to catch the move. I do think overall Diggersby's better as a closer and Reggie's better as a safe swap. The opponent comes into a Vigorove right here. Now, the opponent actually built up to, I believe, like 10 counters or something, like up to a Bulldoze. So what I decide to do here is actually respect it. And I also realize if I want to get off 2 moves, I'll have to shield up one of these Body Slams anyway. So I might as well shield up the first one just in case it is a Bulldoze. The opponent will go for a second Body Slam here. And as you're about to see, this will allow us to just about get off the move on 1 HP, and we can look to get rid of this Vigorove, which is a pretty big problem for the Diggersby. Now we've got a lot of health, the opponent comes into a Lantern, and this is basically curtains. I'm expecting the catch, I do not fall for it, I farm the Dragonair the whole way down, and we do go for CMP tie here. The opponent unfortunately is not top lefting, but I think after getting off the Surf, and seeing that we live it very, very comfortably, I think the opponent will see the writing on the wall. Boom, Scorching Sun's coming in, and the opponent CMP's the top left. So yeah, I do think this is a very strong team, guys. I do recommend it. As you can see, we're up to 28-25 of the team, and we're going to actually go positive in the set as well. So yeah, like I was using some different teams. I haven't made my way back up to Legend yet, but this team is doing very, very well for me. This match with Sableye is pretty neutral. You just go double Aurelius. But I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please subscribe, drop a like in the video. By the way, I'm expecting this to be a Azumarill in the back. Sableye lead, Azumarill in the back is a pretty common core. We can just IPS to 2 Aureliuses here. So I fire these both off immediately. The opponent actually lets it through and comes into Altaria, and then comes into Azu. That's basically game over, folks. Like I said, guys, thank you very much for all the support in the videos. It's very, very much appreciated. Thank you to everybody who's been dropping likes, subscribing, and a big thank you to our channel members and supporters. Very, very much appreciated. I want to say a big shout out to Daryl, who's just been going insane with the memberships recently and the donations on stream. Big shout out to Boston and everybody who's on screen here. Very much appreciate you guys. Big thank you. YouTube does take quite some time, and you know, getting some support from channel members and things, it is very much appreciated. So big thank you. We do go free too there. 28-39. I'm definitely very happy with this team. I would like to see some of these Pokemon get buffed. I'd like to see Diggersby get some more moves. and I'd like to see Mantine perhaps get a better move than Aerialus, and I think these Pokemon could be sort of very close to top meta. Thanks everybody, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time.